Hello everyone, this is Frank DeFreitas and welcome to HoloTalk, the Internet's laser and holography talk show, enjoyed in over 42 countries throughout the world. And now, here's this week's show.
Hello, Triple Take.
Hi Joy, how are you? It's Frank.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
You're all set then, right?
Yep.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
You're probably doing better out there than you would out here with all the snowstorms we've gotten so far.
Yep, I was just talking to my sister out there, and she was shoveling this morning.
I'm beat.
Yep.
I'm beat.
I don't miss that part.
It's not even winter yet. It's still fall.
I know.
Yeah.
You don't usually get it until January.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you decided to come on the show. First, I would just want to explain to the listeners that I had promised to bring you on because I wanted to do something specifically with you for two areas. Your Triple Take holographics business that you have, since we're in the holiday season now, full
Right.
swing. And also, I believe you're involved with a number of different professional organizations. I believe it's Women in Optics and things of that nature, right?
Right.
So we can talk a little bit about both of those. How's that?
Okay.
Now, you came into this starting Triple Takes. You already had a professional background in holography. In fact, you weren't too far from me. You were up in Elmsford, New York for a while, right?
That's right.
What was your capacity up there with American Banknote?
Essentially, I was the holographer. That's the title. And what it meant is that I was the person who took the artwork that was already developed from the art department, and I actually put it on the table and created the master hologram.
Okay.
And after that, it was sent off to the production floor for the embossing.
Mm-hmm. And, I was up at American Banknote Graphics up in the 80s. I guess you weren't there at the time. Someone took me down into the studio.
Uh-huh.
Was Dinesh there as well?
He would have been coming along, I think, in 86. So
Huh.
it might have been still earlier than that.
Yeah, I wonder if he was the one that took me down.
It was most likely Lenny, I think, has been there for a long time, and he's the lab manager.
Who was the one that did the Michael Jordan cover for Sports Illustrated?
Oh, that would have been Todd.
Okay, because he actually visited here one time.
Okay.
I had him autograph one of the Sports Illustrated covers.
Yeah, so did I.
Did you? Yeah.
It's about time holographers signed their work.
Yeah. So you're probably doing what is the most difficult job to do in holography today, and that is running a small business.
Absolutely.
What are some of the products the two of you put together? And you might want to just go over quickly both of your roles and responsibilities within the business that you have.
Well, as far as the products that we're producing, we can, in fact, make almost any kind of hologram. We have the capability and the knowledge to do so. What you'll find on our website is primarily the DCG, which I have partnered in with a lot of art glass in order to create products that are more saleable, because people will buy a coaster anyway, but what they look for is the decorative aspect of the coaster. And so if we put a hologram on it, it's not a super high art thing, but it's interesting. It's a decor thing that we have a lot of people interested in. So that's what kind of stuff we make: clocks, coasters, keychains, the usual assortment of products.
Now, these items that you create, there's no automation involved in this process at all. They're all made by hand, is that correct?
Yeah, they're all handmade by our own two little fingers.
Yeah.
As far as I guess 20 fingers. The actual holography starts with, most of the time, the actual image is inspired by someone who wants something.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll put together some kind of a model or artwork. We set it up on the table. Dinesh loves to do the chemistry part, so I like to do the geometry part, which works out really well for the two of us. I go in and set up the table, and then he shoots the holograms and develops them and comes up with all of those kinds of parameters. And then we seal it into the glass, and then I go into the back and shape it into whatever shape it's going to be into, whether it be coaster or actually I can do some very elaborate things. Sometimes I put the gold gilding edge, or, it depends on what we want to do with it.
Now, where would someone find your products other than the website, or are there commercial outlets retailers that are stocking anything?
I don't have any commercial outlets, but we have worked with other people who have had us make something for them that they have sold, again, on the private market.
Mm-hmm.
We've made some things for Rayvel. There's a couple of internal things we've done for the Navy has had various things that they do. They like the ball or something. They'll have this big gala event, and then we made the gifts that were handed out to the guests there.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So it's largely internal. One of the things when I said, about figuring out a business is it's even harder. It's hard enough to make the product, harder to make a business, and even harder still to figure out what the public is going to want.
Mm-hmm.
So most of what we've done is to have the public come to us and say, this is what we want, and then we go make it.
Yeah. I imagine the majority of people that are going to be listening to this show would be people who are already doing holograms to begin with. Although there is a pretty large cross-section of people who listen to this show, such as educators, students, and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is it day by day? I mean, the hours must be long, and the work must be grueling sometimes.
It depends. I mean, as you said, especially since most of these guys are making holograms themselves, you realize that, if you love what you're doing, you don't count the hours.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly.
I do.
Well, to some extent. I mean, because we're trying to make a business, the more important thing is counting the money.
At least today I would.
Yeah. Well, today's a snowy day for you, so you'd want to stay in.
Yeah.
I'd probably be shooting today if I were at home.
Some of my brightest holograms have happened when I've shot them on the nights of snowstorms.
Yep.
Because I live in Center City, and it actually dampens the entire geographical area.
Yeah, I bet it would. That'd be nice.
So
we have a relatively stable area here because most of the underlayment is granite.
I see.
Our table does float if we need really long exposures.
Oh, so
one of those nice Newport tables.
Oh, that's nice.
Actually, I understand there's a few hands that have had us before because it has a strange feature in the middle of it, a cutout. And other people coming in here have looked at that and said, I've seen that table somewhere before.
Huh. Do you work in your home?
No. We have a whole separate studio.
Oh, do you?
It's about 4,000 square feet. Really decent size. It is actually the studio that Don Broadbent was in.
Okay.
We met up with him, I guess about 7 years ago, as long as we've been in San Diego. And he was someone we'd never met before. We'd heard through other people that he was selling off equipment because he wanted to retire. So we met up with him, and we actually got him a brief job at the place where we were working with, which was a photonics company at the time. And so we sort of started getting together, and then we started thinking that we'd love to make our own business on the side. So we actually kind of moved in with Don here at this studio with the idea that we were going to do like a transition thing until he retired because he was going to be moving away. And so we eventually did that, and in February 2000, we took over entirely and became Triple Take.
I see.
And Don is still lurking out there. I believe he's in Arizona now. So if anybody's trying to get in touch with him, I know how to find him.
Well, that truly is a business that you're running there, that you have your own location and everything for it. Do you have a display area that folks could come in and see holograms?
There's a small display area. We have a private collection because I like to collect other holographers' work as well. So some of the things are actually at home. But we do have a display area here, mostly our products, but also a few other pieces that we've collected along the way that are from other holographers that have actually come into the studio or students that have worked here, and a couple of my favorite pieces from people that are a little more friends than, we have Bogman from Richmond Studios.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favorites long before I ever knew where it came from. And when Edwina finally gave me a copy of it, that was one of my treasured pieces, and I have it up here at the lab as well.
Did you say Lindau Man?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. There's someone down by Philadelphia that actually, is it on film or is it on glass plate?
It's on film.
Yeah.
And I framed it in a regular glass frame.
Yeah, there's someone down in Philadelphia in New Hope, Pennsylvania, that has one on display in a shop down there that's an actual glass plate.
Is that the 3D shop out in the Amish Village?
No, you're probably thinking more towards Lancaster.
Yeah.
This is more towards the Delaware River down by Philadelphia. It's a small town called New Hope.
Yeah. Well, I know the area. I have cousins there.
His name's Howard Kurz is his name. I think it's Laser Illusions or something is the shop. But it's one of the shops that he has a wonderful collection of holograms there, and a lot of them were on glass plates. But in order to stay afloat, with some of those shops, you have to have a lot of different novelty items as well.
Right.
Along with it. So it's a mix of a lot of different things there.
Mm-hmm. And we've been getting a lot of calls from people that have been saying that, I used to be able to get stickers and I used to be able to get this and everything. Where do you get it anymore? Mm-hmm. And so there's definitely a lot of room out there for that kind of thing because, there are people out there that want it and don't know where to go anymore. Because even when I started up in holography, seriously, when I actually got my first job in it, already, all of the schools were closed, all of the galleries were closed. There was just this big black hole.
Yeah.
In holography. And I think right now, especially with the internet and these sorts of things getting out there, there's more and more people getting involved. Mm-hmm. And there's more people who know what it is.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
If we can just get the public a little more involved again, there might be a resurgence.
There may be, yeah. Or we may see it, the technology just... it's a competing technology, and there are a lot of technologies competing with it. So, I was down at the, you know where Camden, New Jersey is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was down at the new aquarium. They closed the state aquarium. I think a private venture took it over, and they put in a new 3D theater. So I had the opportunity of seeing my first 3D film shot underwater, and I was expecting to go in there to see something rather crass, as far as technology is concerned and effect. But it was gorgeous. It was just absolutely. It was like you were engulfed in the actual movie itself.
I love those new theaters. They're put out by IMAX, but it's a completely different design than the old IMAX domes that used to be planetariums. Mm-hmm. And the effect is fabulous. Yeah,
I think that polarization was involved with the left and right view and things like that.
Out here they're actually calling it 4D.
4D, huh?
We laugh about that.
Oh yeah, because there was motion in the seats. And you would get sprayed with water as well.
That's right.
So I guess
it's great. If anybody can get near one of these, I think there's one in Harrisburg also, but I haven't actually been there. That can run these 3D Polaroid type displays, and it's worth it. Yeah. You got to go to these places.
Just don't eat any cheap Philly hot dogs before you go in. So you also mentioned workshops. Maybe do you run workshops that people can come to?
We have been working with the local Palomar College.
Okay.
And so what they do is that they're the ones who organize and do all the advertising to get the students in, and then we run the workshops. Mm-hmm. And that's been really a lot of fun. We can only take about 3 or 4 students at a time in the lab, obviously, because we've only got so much working room. But we've gotten some good response, and the people that have come have just been thrilled that they've never done such a thing before as making a hologram. And of course, we love teaching.
Yeah. I started doing the workshops here in '83. Mm-hmm. And from, I'd say, late elementary, middle school kids, all the way up into retirees.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I think most of our students have been older. Mm-hmm. There was only one younger kid, and even that wasn't, a kid. He was, I think, 25.
Yeah.
So that's, I think that speaks also about the form or glory of holography, is that the people who understand what it really is and really have always wanted to do that is the older generation. And I'd like to really reach out to the younger generation and get them more involved in recognizing what the medium can do.
Yeah.
And not just, peachy little stickers, for their notebooks.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to run the laser and holography workshops at a place in Philadelphia called the Franklin Institute. So I was down there for about 10 years, and that was a gifted and talented program that would come in there for workshops, and they were all young students that would come in for that. And, this is going back a long, long time.
Gee, maybe I could have been one of those students.
I'll tell you what, I recently just had one of the students come back with one of their own children. So I'm sort of like a grand teacher.
Yeah.
Like
that feel great?
Yeah, it was a wonderful. To be honest with you, I can't remember the person. I mean, they're grown, and they say they're in a workshop, but you can't remember who they are really. I mean, because it's not like you have them for a year or 2 years. You have them for 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon, and then you never see them again. 20 years ago or whatever. But it is a nice feeling to be in the second generation of it now. Women.
In addition to running our normal workshops with the college, we also have done some professional lectures for companies that are working in photonics, for the colleges themselves in their colloquia and things like that. So that's feeding up into the higher consulting that we're also doing.
You always have to keep an eye out when you have your own business for other work.
Oh, of course.
It's a very delicate process. I'd say I think in 1993 I went on my own entirely with holography. And that was probably an early mistake that I made, was that while you're doing the work, you not only have to do the work, but you constantly have to be looking for work that's further on down the line.
Yes. Because
once all of the work that you finally, that you have is complete, all of a sudden you hit a wall because you haven't been looking for other work to come in, and it's a very difficult balance to maintain.
Yeah, and both jobs can be full-time.
Absolutely.
And how to squeeze them all in.
Yes. Yeah, if you're working in March, you've got to be arranging things for July,
That's right.
Yeah. What's your involvement with Women in Optics? I saw a picture on your website of a group that got together. I guess it must have been a dinner in New York or something.
It was actually at SPIE, and we always have, at all of the different optics conventions, they do have a little luncheon where they get together. And the primary function really of the Women in Optics is to support women doing research, specifically that we can help fund their way to giving a lecture at one of these conferences. And that's really the primary function, is just to give women the opportunity to step up in the optics world and present themselves and become, better known and better established professionals.
I imagine you also have educational outreach programs available for high school students as well, or no?
I don't actually know that much because I'm not one of the organizers. I'm just sort of one of the members, and I showed up at the luncheons and that sort of thing, but I haven't really gotten terribly involved in the deeper stuff.
When Women in Optics got started, I had someone on from SPIE, and I have to apologize, but I cannot remember the name right now in the state I'm in. But I think I had a number of downloads that they could download educational packets too, about the organization. I think they're probably back in the archives of the show somewhere, and the show goes back, I think it's going in its 9th year now. So it's been a while.
Yep. Well, I'm sure that I don't actually, if you go through the SPIE website, you can probably find their link.
Yeah.
I don't know that off the top of my head either.
Yeah. How about some information? I'll put a link to your website on the web page.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know what that's going to do. Don't expect a rush or anything like that of orders or anything, especially considering the audience that it's going out to. I guess people, that are listening to this are basically just interested in hearing about Triple Take and what you do and things of that nature. But I'd like to begin promoting what I call handcrafted holography. These are folks that are working the same as a cabinet maker works, or someone who hand makes a bicycle frame. And they work in their own private labs in their own studios, and they offer holograms for sale. And I think that's basically what you're doing. You and Dinesh fall under that handcrafted holography category. You have no automation.
Yep. Well, most of holography doesn't really, the industry hasn't grown big enough to support people who make automation equipment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have made their own for their own purposes that have then tried to go off and sell it to other people. There are a couple of those companies around. But it really is, all hand done. Apart from you've got the dot matrix machines and everything. But that mostly is, not really artistic enough for the people who want to do this kind of thing. They want to do the whole three-dimensional coming out at you kind of stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of dot matrix and things of that nature, do you do any mastering for embossed holography at all?
Yes, we do. We don't have the ability at present to to do the actual embossing. But we have made masters and then send them out. And one of the things that we're looking at for next year is, to see if we can get some in-house equipment, because one of the other things that a lot of people seem interested in is, they don't want 5 million pieces to go to American Banknote to have it done. Mm-hmm. They want something a little more personalized. And so, we'd like to look into doing some more embossed work in the next year.
Yeah, for short runs.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there, since we're coming up on 20 minutes already, that's why I usually say 15 to 20 minutes, because usually by the time the show's over, it's 30. Uh-huh. I try to keep the file sizes small, because with everything on the web anymore, there's a lot of listeners that are over in Europe and Asia, believe it or not. There's a girls' school, a science school in China that listens to this. It's a girls' school.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's all over the place. And the thing is, the longer the show, I'd love to do long shows, but the longer the show, the bigger the file size, and it's incredible to download this stuff anymore.
Yep.
Is there anything that you'd like to mention that I did not ask about?
Let me think about what we've gone through. My goodness, just about everything.
What would your advice be to students that would be out there that might be, or anyone for that matter, that might be thinking about doing holography as a business? Because you probably get emails all the time. I get emails all the time with, people that have ideas for the next big thing. And what would you say to someone?
Yeah, I would think that if you're trying to make a business of it, you have to get outside of yourself. Because when you're doing a business of any kind, even if you're providing a product, you're still really providing a service. And one of the things that holographers frequently do is they're so enamored of their own technology that they don't recognize how other people see it.
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent point.
And one of the things, the very first holographer that I met face-to-face was actually Dan Schweitzer. Mm-hmm. Then the production holographers at ABN, of course. And he really was a big inspiration to me, because what I saw him doing was stepping outside of just the medium and seeing what you can do with it. He liked to play with the images floating in space, and he took little steel models and interacted with them. And he really was looking to see what he could pull out of it, and not just what can I do with it. And I think that was really something that I've carried with me along the way, and I hope I can live up to that.
I think Dan had a background in theater, didn't he?
I don't know that,
stage work or something, but you can see it in his work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's correct or not. I spoke with Dan a number of different times, and for some reason that sticks with me. Mm-hmm. Dan was going to do a HoloTalk interviewing me before he passed away.
Oh,
and we never got around to doing that, and I never sought out anyone else to do it since then, because Dan was the guy that was going to do it.
Sounds like a good idea.
That show may never air. So did we grow up close to one another? I was from Philly.
Yeah, I actually grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Get out of here! My wife's from Belmar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm probably going to see my mom for Christmas.
No kidding.
She still lives there. That's
Cherry Hill.
When I first went out looking for holographers, and I made some phone calls, and I don't know if you might have been actually one of the people I called when I came out of college, looking for jobs.
Oh.
Was told that there are no jobs. We're all independent people working out of our basements.
Yeah. Huh. That would have been something I would have said, in a nice way, of course.
Yeah. Well, you did tell me some of the other things that were going on in holography, and not just art, but also in technical holography, and I think that inspired me as well, because I do have one foot in the technical world.
Oh.
It might have been you.
It might have been.
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
I know that I learned originally, I had gotten a book from a friend of mine when I was a kid. It was Jeff Berner's holography book. And in the back of it was a bunch of interviews with the old holographers.
Oh.
And so that's where I started calling people around that were local to me. And I know I talked to Ken Dunkley, because he's right there in Philadelphia as well. Yeah. And I know I talked to a second person, and I can't remember who it was. Huh. And it may well have been you.
May have been. Yeah, Cherry Hill. Did you ever go to Cherry Hill Mall?
All the time.
Yep, me too.
In fact, I worked there a few times.
Did you? Get out of here. Yeah, my wife and I, when we first started dating, we're together 30 years this year. And when we first started dating, we went to a restaurant down at Airport Circle called The Pub.
Uh-huh.
And we always like to travel down there and have dinner down there, and also stop like at Cherry Hill Mall and things like that. So the mall is still there.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
That's, I think, isn't that supposed to be one of the first malls on the East Coast?
That's what I kept telling people. And one of the cornerstones, it's in Strawbridge and Clothier, right down there where the fountains were. I think it said like 1961 or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Used to go over there when I was a kid. They used to have summer concert series with the Pops Orchestra right there by the fountains, and we used to sit there and listen to all the show tunes and all stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a great place. All right, Joy. Anything else?
No, I think that's good.
Now, people will be listening to this probably 20 years from now, I guess.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll...
Nice if the same people are still in the business 20 years from now.
But that'll be interesting. We're in it for a long time.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Jeez.
Life.
All right, well, you have a very nice holiday.
You too.
Do you celebrate Christmas?
Yes, I do.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
And please tell Dinesh I said hello.
Okay.
And we'll have to get together sometime.
Yep.
All right.
We'll be up there probably and see if we can get some time in for you.
Okay.
I'll have to give a call.
All right. You take care. And thank you for being on the show and taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.